Good afternoon. How are you? Well, it's Sunday. It's chilly. There is an Irish mist in the air, and there's a mist coming off the nearby mountain and making it all very mysterious. It's something like our public life. I don't know if you've noticed it, probably you have, and it could be because everybody's taking time off in every direction, except for violence. The news seems to have more space than it has news to fill the space. And so we retract things and we talk about hypotheticals that are highly unlikely. And I think that's bad reporting, don't you? No one can know what's going to happen, but there are some things that have a predictable narrow path, particularly leadership, because it's based on numbers. And the numbers are, well, kind of obvious. Let's take, for example, something that probably is relevant and that is unfolding continuously. And it's who is going to be the speaker in the next Congress. Now, keep in mind, there are two Congresses here. One, the present one, through, I think it's January the 6th, ironic. And then the new Congress, in which the numbers from this election then determine who's in charge where. So what are we doing for the rest of this year? Well, the most important thing probably is the funding of Congress so that it doesn't close its doors and fail to provide its services. In this current Congress, the Democrats have the majority in the House, and they have a 50-50 majority in the Senate that they can break with a vote by the vice president. So that's pretty much where it is. And the Republicans are going to try to resist what the Democrats may want to do to get a bill to Biden's desk. Now, the next Congress, that's the one we're all talking about. And we're talking about things we don't know about. So the real race is in the House. Will McCarthy become the speaker? Now, he's the leader of the Republican caucus by a vote that they had recently. But in order to be the speaker in the new Congress, he has to get 218 votes, which is a majority. And there are, right now, I think, 220 Republicans. And there are two races that haven't been called for yet. So that gives you some idea where he is. Now, he can't afford any challenge, really, because it's such a tenuous margin. Now, Andy Biggs, who headed the Freedom Forum in the Republican caucus, says there's no way that McCarthy is going to be the speaker, and he's going to vote against him. And in the next Congress, we're going to be concerned about 3 investigations. Mexico, Afghanistan, leaving it, and, oh, brace yourself, COVID. So those are the 3 investigations he's concerned about. Now, do we think Biggs is right? No, I don't think so. And I'll tell you why. Because there's no other scenario by which the Republicans can remain in control, because they don't have the votes to beat him or to have some other person be in charge of the caucus. Now, that could change, and it's more likely, I think, that what we'll have is McCarthy will make deals with the naysayers, and as a result of those deals, what legislation they want, funding they want, prominence they want, and that will give him the votes he needs to get to 218, and anybody who opposed him will be punished in the next Congress. Now, how could the Democrats become speaker? About the only way that I can see is that the Republicans have several of their members that are prepared for cutting a deal with the Democrats to vote for a Democrat for speaker. I doubt it'd be Nancy, but it's possible. It could be the new leadership team. So that's the movement there. Now, how will this operate in the next Congress? It'll operate something like a diode. I don't know if you're familiar with the notion, but it's a notion that electricity travels in one direction through a diode. So how would that work as a metaphor? Well, if the Republicans are in charge of the House, and they will be for the votes, and McCarthy will probably be the Speaker, then what happens is a bill passes the House, but the Senate can stop it. So a bill only goes in one direction through the Senate to the President if the Democrats agree in the Senate that it should go forward. So that's going to be a tall order. And that's why I think they're going to have, 40 investigations, so they say. But some of those members in the new Congress, they come from districts that Democrats won, and they won. So if they want to be reelected, and they shaded their views to get elected this time, they may not be so willing to sign on to a kind of legislative suicide pact to vote for things that 2 years from now are going to cripple their reelection. And that would be 2024, presidential election year. So the new Congress is destined without cooperation, and I don't see it from this group, either in the Senate or the House, to do nothing. And the Democrats to pose questions and issues about a do-nothing Congress authored by the Republican so-called leadership. How will this affect the presidential race? Plainly, since Congress is divided almost equally between the two sides, the voters instinctively, I can't say it would be purposeful, don't trust either side enough to give either side enough power to run the government. There's this old saying, the only time you're safe is when Congress is in recess. Well, in this Congress, safe or doing nothing is going to be most of the time, even when they are in session. That's the dilemma of our government. And I've used this phrase before. Is the government inaction 2 words, or are we going to have a lot of government inaction being 1 word? And I think we're going to have the latter. And we're going to have it at a time when we really need a Congress that is governing and finding a way to govern with Biden. And that makes his argument for the presidential race. This time, not only should you vote for me, Biden, but you should vote for every Democrat and Republican who believes that our business is governing on behalf of the people in a democracy, not an autocracy. And that's the argument for the Democrats going forward. Returning to the money bills right now, it's going to be interesting to see how Republicans try to mess that up, because Florida is going to want the money in that spending bill to take care of what happened in the storms. But another fight we're going to have is the fight over Ukraine. Some Republicans do not want to spend money on Ukraine. They're taking the part of Putin. Talk about being out of touch with America. But in terms of politics, that's good electoral politics for us. It's bad politics if we can't govern, particularly with regard to foreign affairs, in a way that makes sense. And it reveals those Republicans presently in the leadership as afflicted with the same disease that Trump had, which is to pal up to Tsar Putin and satisfy him and make him an ally both politically, small p, and internationally, big P, governing. So that's the way I see it today. I'm out in the soggy trees, my cathedral of trees, and perhaps it'll not be as rainy tomorrow. Bye-bye.